Oh, fucking hang on a sec. Stupid fucking thing.
We are live.
We are live, Chris, as you've said, and everyone, welcome to NRL DNA Round 3 preview. A few talking points today, so let's not muck around. Before I say, mate, how are you? Quickly.
I'm good. Yeah. No, been pretty busy. But busy's good.
You are
Sun
busy.
shining.
Rightio. So here we go. First one, mate. The Storm going to win the grind without Smith. So my take is that usual games in the grind, he wins them, and his best quality is, he would say, is between his ears, right? So what do you think of Craig Bellamy's comments in a presser saying that, continually referencing them missing Smith?
I think that was a bit of a little dig, not so much a dig, but just messaging to his own team.
Yeah.
Probably his way of not so subtly saying that with Cam here, we probably could have won that match against the Eels. It's probably his way of saying to the boys, look, you've got to lift your game. You playmakers, you game closers, Jerome, Munster. You've got to step up now and own that space. Cameron's not here anymore, and he's a pretty smart man, Bellamy. So I reckon he's used that as a forum just to send a not so quiet message to the new batch, the new big three or the new big four, to say it's your time now. Life is now beyond Cameron. So I think it was probably well orchestrated from Bellyache, personally.
Yeah, I think so too. And you mentioned a couple of players there that you think that can take the mantle of really calming down the game, looking at times where they can really win that grind. I don't see it in Munster. What is your thoughts on Munster being a game manager?
No, probably not so much Munster. He's a game breaker. He's a game star. And you know what, Pete, too? The new game, it doesn't really lend itself to that. Like a Cameron Smith. He'd dictate the tempo. He'd be able to slow the game down to suit. He knew when his team needed a breather. He knew when to up the tempo. The new game, there's not so much of that. There's very few stoppages in play. There's next to no scrums. It's so that style of game management maybe is not there like it used to be. And I'm noticing the likes of Cameron Munster, the players that can play the ad lib, the up tempo, eyes up footy as they call it. Play what you see. They're just real footballers, aren't they? They're not so scripted. We see from team to team, the cookie cutter. They're all running the same lines, doing the same plays, and it's all very orchestrated. But those teams that are prepared to go outside of the script, and Munster's like brilliant at doing that, they're the ones who are really shining. So the game, I think, the game's evolving a bit.
That's a great point, and that was no criticism. And I should say, it was no criticism from me of Cameron Munster. I think he's brilliant, but that's a super interesting point. The game evolving to a point where your Sterlos, your Munsters, your Mortimers back in our day, it's changed, hasn't it? That's
lending itself more to footy players, people that want to play footy.
Yeah.
When you all the coaches have their set structures, and they're very similar across teams, and you can see it week to week. Oh yeah, that's the same as what the Roosters are doing. Oh, that's the same as what the Rabbitohs do. Oh yeah, I get it. They're running a play there, a block play there. Then they're sweeping back here. They've got half either side, good structure. But now the game is faster, and there's not so many stoppages to get yourself structured. You're seeing players like Munster who are just footy players, and they're really relishing it, and that's good to see. It's good to see. It's quite refreshing, actually.
Yeah, I like it.
Play footy.
I like it.
How often do we say it? Play footy, boys.
Yeah, and with them having Penrith on Thursday night, hard one to tip, but with Cleary being out, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. What do you think? Tell me your thoughts on that game and who's going to prevail.
It's at home, isn't it? Panthers are at home, hey.
Panthers at home.
They haven't dropped a point. They haven't let a point in
No
two
points.
games, not 1 point.
You're a dream for you and I.
And you might say, yeah, but hang on, they've only played Cowboys and who was it, Dogs. Forget that. They haven't let a point in, so they're doing really well. Cleary is just, he's right up there. He's got to be the best number 7 in the game by a long way at the moment. I think the way he just straightens things up and directs play, I love it. But Matt Burton will come into the side, and I'm not sure if Ivan will start Matt Burton or bring him off the bench, but he's been the big talking point, hasn't he, Burton? So I think we're all looking forward to seeing how this guy goes. What's all the hype been about? How will it go? Oh God, mate, it's going to be a belter. You don't see Melbourne Storm losing too many back-to-back games, do you? That's the worry.
No.
No Cleary. God, it's going to be a close one. Oh, I'm going to stick with the Panthers. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I think
okay. I'm going to agree with you and say that yes, because it's going to be another grinding game, and they just don't have Smithy anymore. And I think Melbourne are feeling their way into this new style of football. And Penrith at home, and Cleary's out. I think they've done the right thing by looking after his brain with the concussion thing. So, all right, that's a good segue into our next topic, mate, and it's around the concussion. But what I wanted to talk to you about today, Chris, in this is there's a fine line, and it was on 360 last night between Kenty and Benji Marshall were talking about it, and they got into quite a bit of a rousing discussion about it, about the intent of Konfusi really wanting to hurt Madison and put him out of the game. And Graham and Benji were talking, well, you don't want to maim them or put their lives at risk, but you want to hurt them in a way so that obviously they don't want to run the ball up again. So tell me your thoughts, Chris, on that, the line between wanting to hurt someone maliciously and the good old ball and all bell ringer.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one. And I understand what the boys were saying, and that's the way it is. It's the way it was, You're running at me, I want to take you out. I want to hit you as hard as I can.
Yeah.
I want you to get up really slowly. I want you to feel some pain.
Yeah.
That's the game. That's the game. But you got to do it within the rules. Yeah. And also, I guess, within the spirit of the game as well. If Konfusi can hurt Madison with a dead set bell ringer within the rules of the game, good luck to it. If Madison got knocked out because of a bell ringer, that's not a problem. That's part of the game.
100%.
It's when that malicious intent comes in. And we can't say if it was intentional. Only Felice knows that. It looked intentional to me, and I worry for Ryan Madison because he's got a real quite a long history with concussions. And I was reading an article the other day. He was sleeping for 16 hours a day. Not so long ago. I think last year or the year before.
Yeah.
But it didn't look good. My problem with all that, right? My problem with that. Why wasn't he put in the bin? Why wasn't he put in the bin? And yet there's inconsistency across games when Dallin Watene-Zelezniak was put in the bin for his shot on Nathan Cleary.
Yeah.
Why wasn't Felice Konfusi sent to the bin? Okay, referee Ashley Klein mightn't have seen it, right? He mightn't have been there on the spot. But what about the bunker?
Exactly.
They would have seen, they would have had time to look at 10 replays of that.
Yeah.
And on radio, my show on, when was it, Monday night, I took a bit of a pot at Henry Perinara because he was the man in the bunker for that game. Good fella, so is Ashley. But come on, you've had plenty of time. If they've got time to review the tries, Surely they got time to review those sort of incidents. And I'm gonna chat to Greg McCallum tonight on SEN Higher Ground.
You'll
so
be
I want
tuning
to
in.
get
Yeah, great.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that not sending him off is sending the wrong message. Kenty again talked about the 80s, and we saw that old footage, Western Suburbs and Souths and Manly and all that sort of stuff. And they brought in that World War II pilot who was a legal guy, and they, giving out suspensions for 18 months and 2 years and stuff, the Les Boyd stuff. But what the guys on the panel were saying was that the players don't really know now what their parameters are. So I think that's going to be the next rule change that PBL and Abdo is going to bring in to really make that line very clear. You do this, you're out. And if they don't...
they know. Well, I'm sure they know. I think they know. You can't attack the head. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Can't attack the head, right? The head is gold. You can't attack it.
Head is sacred.
Head is sacred. Yeah, head is sacred. And there's going to be impacts. People are going to get concussed because that's what the game is. It's a physical. It's the most brutal physical contact sport in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, on the planet.
Well, next to UFC, but you want to call that a sport? That's a different sort of thing. Yeah. Well, I'm big on. I think the NRL should bring in an 18th man. I've been saying this for a few years now. Not for all concussions. I haven't got a problem if Ryan Madison goes off concussed because he was hitting a good ball and all tackle by Felice Kafusi. Ryan Madison gets concussed. Parramatta are reduced to 16 men. Bad luck. That's the game. But I have got a problem when Parramatta are reduced to 16 men because of foul play because of Melbourne Storm and Felice Kafusi. Why should Parramatta pay a penalty for their indiscretion? Why should Parramatta be a man down for the rest of the game when Melbourne can play with 17 men? Where's the fairness in that? So that's where you bring an 18th man in. Parramatta or whoever, if a player is forced off the field due to foul play from the other team, you are able to restock with your 18th man, so you've got 17 players. I think it's pretty simple, and I think it should be brought in.
Yeah, good. All right. Yeah, no disagreements for me, mate. Okay, so last topic of the day, mate. We're going to talk about Madge losing the dressing room. And the reason I say this is that, again, watching 360 last night, James Graham made some very interesting comments, and he said that they don't look like a Maguire coach team. He said that when he was in England and he went to Wigan, there was a marked improvement in their defence. And then when he went to South, a marked improvement in South's defence. Now he's come with the Tigers, it hasn't happened. Do you think it's the playing group not buying into what Madge is selling? Or is it are we getting to the point where it's a different generation again, where it's getting a little bit softer and not wanting to do the hard work?
Oh, God, Pete, I don't know. You got to be in the dressing room to know whether the coach has lost it or not. But it certainly looked like the way they played at Campbelltown on the weekend. They weren't playing for their coach. They weren't playing for each other. They weren't playing for themselves. Well, no, they probably were just playing for themselves. It wasn't a team, and defence, as you know, is all about attitude. And there wasn't much attitude out there of wanting to make those tackles stick and holding your line and looking after your mate, trusting your mate either side. There wasn't much of that, was there? And Joey Leilua, I mean, he was like a turnstile, and he's been dumped this weekend.
Yeah.
But you can understand fans asking questions. Is it running a bit deeper than what we're just seeing? Is it more than just a few missed tackles, or is it a really a deep-seated problem? Maybe they're not listening to the coach anymore, or they're not playing for the coach. I don't know. I'm not going to assume because I'm not there. All I can say is that it looks like they've got bigger problems than just missed tackles. Put it that way.
Oh, yeah. And the reason I bring it up is because remember last year it was brought up that the players were saying, look, we're walking on eggshells. And this year was, again, that we're hearing year in, year out with the Tigers. It's going to be different this year. And, again, we get to a point where there's no change. So I'm just trying to put two and two together. And, again, you're right. I'm not in the dressing room, and it's a tough gig. We don't want to cast aspersions on anyone. But from the effort and the results so far of 2 rounds of football. And yeah, they've played 2 top 4 sides, but
True, yeah.
Watching
Who they got
BJ
this
and his
week
brother,
besides?
they've got
Nice.
Newcastle up at
Oh,
Newcastle.
nice. Yeah, good luck. Newcastle away. Let's reserve our judgment until after this weekend, okay? Let's have one more look at them
Okay.
before we start throwing too many stones at them. That's
All
going to
right.
be a tough mission up there.
Look, I don't think they
Give
can
me
win.
one more week before we assassinate the Tides.
Yeah. All right. Well, Chris, that's going to be the end for today, mate. What we might do is do one on Friday, just to have another little look at what the game has been on the what will be the Penrith and Storm game, and then have a look towards the weekend. So thanks again, and we'll catch up soon.
Keep trying, brother.
See you, mate.